Okay.
So if I have any questions.
Sorry, I realized we weren't recording, so we're recording now. Awesome. I think that's great, Casey. And if you have questions on Monday, then let us know. So, Annette, hot seat. You had questions over market stuff. You're muted.
So I get what the absorption rate is.
Mm-hmm.
Here is what I would love is if we could see a completed one page of the market health, and to see how your wording when you're presenting it.
Yeah.
I'm just a little loose on sitting down with my page of, market health and conveying
What it means.
Easily and to a layman. Yes.
Great.
And also the formula for the second one. See, there's absorption and there's something else on your videos after that. Oh, maybe it's it's the average and the median.
Yeah. So I'm gonna show you what's on this presentation to start, and I'll talk about it the way that I would talk to a client. And this is something, Annette, that I think is really important to be able to do. And I'm really happy that you also think it's important, because I think once you understand this really, really well, it's going to help you convey to your clients. It's going to help you with, your confidence in what you're telling them. So I think I would continue asking questions until you feel like, man, I understand this completely perfectly. So I'm going to share screen again.
How's your weekend look, Ben? Kidding.
Well, when, I would say this, Annette, like, if you're working on this, have you downloaded Loom yet?
I have Loom, yes.
Yeah. Send me some videos, explain it in a video. And I know that feels goofy, but that's how we can, that's how we could work on this and not have to be in the same room. Send me a Loom. I'll give you some feedback on it. Do another one. I'll give you some feedback on it. I guarantee you, after doing that 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 times, you'll nail it. And I'm more than happy to do that. So this is the market health page. This is actually a graphic that we came up with that's really illustrated how is the market really, really well. And what you want to communicate the absolute most to your clients is right here. It's the MOI, months of inventory. And MOI it's confusing to lots of people because it has the word months in it. So it makes a lot of sense. Like, why are you telling me, why is a unit of measurement month? And it doesn't have to do with the length of time, really, right? Months of inventory tells you how much inventory is in the market. And so what I would tell a client is I would say, okay, what we did to look at the market health for your neighborhood is your area, we looked at all of MLS area 2N. And the reason we did that is because if somebody is looking to buy a house, they're probably not just looking in Quail Hollow. They're probably also looking in Quail Creek. They're probably looking in Gracie Woods. And the MLS does a really good job of putting all of those together. And that's MLS area 2N. So we looked at 3 months of data, and what we found was that 8 properties per month are selling. That doesn't mean a ton to you. What's more important to you is that there's 4.125 months of inventory. So if you cross-reference that here, you can see that you're in a balanced market. Leans a little bit towards sellers, but really more a balanced market. So if you were to put your property on the market, you'd want to price it with the most recent sold comps. You wouldn't want to price ahead by pricing higher. You probably don't need to price lower. But that's just the way, that's just what this is telling us. When we looked at it, we also saw that average days on market was 17 days on market, and that median days on market was 7 days on market. And that's good for you to know, like, what you should expect. If you price the property appropriately, you're going to sell the property sometime around 7 to 17 days. Does that all make sense the way I just explained it? Annette?
Yeah, I just need to see the
stat
calculations.
Yeah, sure. So we included the stats here, and we always do that because people love to have a takeaway from them. So this is the quick CMA, and we're not going to look at that. We're looking at the statistics here.
Right.
And you can see, yeah, so we have easy enough, the average days on market of the solds, 17, median days on market of the solds, 7. So that's where we got that information. And then I'll pull up a calculator. So the absorption rate, how many, so this is 3 months of data, and that's, I generally default to 3 months of data. It's usually a pretty good window. So there are 24 solds in the last 3 months, right? So how many properties per month are selling? Oh, sorry. 24, that was confusing whenever I did it there. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So there are 8 properties per month are selling. Make sense? Then the months of inventory, and this is where it understandably gets a little confusing. To calculate MOI, how many actives are currently on the market? There are 33, and you divide it by the absorption rate. It gives you 4.125 months of inventory. Does that make sense?
33 actives divided by what?
Divided by the absorption rate. So it's kind of like
The absorption rate. Okay.
Yes, it's a 2-step problem. How many properties per month? So 24 divided by 3 months, because you had 3 months of data, 8 properties per month. Remember, it's 8, and write it down or whatnot. And then how many actives? 33 actives divided by the absorption rate gets you your MOI. Everything else is going to self-calculate. Everything else you'll find on this market analysis sheet. Make sense? And Annette, I mean, it's a serious offer. If you would like to send me, Katie just asked a question, which I'll answer in a second. Annette, if you would like to send me any market statistics sheet, so you've figured out how to run these market statistics, email it to me for calculation check, right? If you don't mind, if you do it, this is just intended to be a learning experience. So when you do that, like, show your work, like, here's how I got it, and send it over to me, then I'm happy to double check. Send it, you know what, actually send it to, I'm not on the support emails, send it to support and include me, and whoever gets to it first, we'll get to it first. We'll make sure that support all knows how to calculate this, and we'll make sure that everybody is good to go on this. Okay, so would you mind now doing your spiel to your client with these numbers, like just how it would flow? Yeah, absolutely. It's what I said a minute ago. So we're not looking at this sheet. We're saying, look, here's where we got all the data. And then when you're going through it, you're saying, okay, guys, so we're gonna go over the market health now. And this tells you if you're in a seller's market or a buyer's market. You have 4.125 months of inventory. And whenever we put it on the chart, you can see that we're in a balanced market. It leans a little bit towards the sellers, but really it's almost right in the middle. So when you're in a balanced market, you want to price the property pretty appropriately. You look at the most recent sold comps, you look at the pendings, and you can generally assume that that's where you're going to sell. Now, there's another part of the conversation that has to do with seasonality. That's part of the listing presentation, but you don't really need to talk to them about that now. So you're at 4.125 months of inventory. You're not in a screaming market. You're not in a bad market. You're kind of right in the middle. Whenever we looked at this, we saw that there were average time to sell was 17 days on market. Median time to sell was 7 days on market. Sorry, I meant to share screen there and I wasn't sharing screen, but that's how I would tell it. And you just take the average and the median straight from the stats sheet. Straight from the stat sheet. You're not doing any calculation there. Okay. But this is, so to share screen, and I'm going to, Katie asked a question a second ago. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen. I'll show this, and then what I would do, and to go back to Casey's question, how do you fill these out? Well, I probably wait to fill this out, and I probably wait to run the calculation until I'm building the sheet, right? So the sheet asks you to put the absorption rate first. So calculate the absorption rate first. Then it asks you to calculate the months of inventory. So then you calculate that next. And then again, you're just pulling the average days on market, median days on market straight from the market statistics. And I think it's just going to take repetition for everybody. Once I've done this 1,000 times, and I mean, it wasn't easy at first. I mean, to start, it was something that it was unfamiliar and I was not confident with it. And then after you've done it a whole bunch of times, and after you've talked to your clients about it a whole lot, your confidence goes way up, and there's certain times you might screw up here or there, but you'll recognize it, and your confidence levels are still really high. So Katie asked, where do you find that? Somebody give me a neighborhood that you're interested in knowing about the market. How's the market in
North Shoal Creek?
North Shoal Creek? Awesome. So North Shoal Creek is MLS area 2. So we're probably, if somebody's looking in North Shoal Creek, they would probably be more than happy to buy something in Allendale, more than happy to buy something in Wooten, more than happy to buy something in Brentwood. And so MLS area 2 encompasses all of that. So what you would do to run the stats, and you can see the MLS defaults to 0 to 90. So I just have MLS area 2, 30 days. Let's think. Oh, there we go. That was results. Check all of them. And you have the stats right here. Go to tabular. So cool. So we have, when we're filling out the sheet, closed, average days on market 21, which is kind of surprising to me that it's that low. Median days on market 10. The absorption rate 102 divided by 3, because it's 3 months, 34 properties per month. There are 130 properties on the market. 3.8 months of inventory. Okay. Now this is where it can get a little bit subjective. If you're just getting to where you're understanding the concept, if you have to default to anything, 3 months, MLS area, just do that. That will help you a lot. But I look at it and I go, okay, well, man, that days on market was a little bit lower than I thought. I wonder if anything is different between single family homes and condos. So I'm going to drill down now. Now I'm looking at single family homes. You can see I still have 205 matches, which is a good amount of data. But this is where you can add a little subjectivity to it. You can add a little bit of your own beliefs in the market. Everybody here is an expert. You don't have to do it the exact same way every time. And this is where I would go into listing appointments, and a lot of times I would drill down to like price range. So whenever I do it this way, remember there was 3.8 months inventory is what it told us a minute ago. So I wonder if it's any different. So there's 80 closings in the last 3 months. So the absorption rate is 26.7, 105 over 26.7, 3.9 months of inventory. So there's a little bit, it didn't change very dramatically at all. Like if you include the condos, there's 3.8. If you don't include the condos, it's 3.9. But that helps satisfy, me. I go, oh, okay, cool. Well, even if I'm just looking at, single family houses, there's still roughly the same amount of inventory. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions over how I got there? I mean, the most important thing is you understand the fundamentals of like, how do you get to the information? Any questions?
How would I quickly explain average versus median?
That's one. Yeah. So I'd like to send you, I mean, honestly, like you can go over this a lot, right? So I would go to YouTube and look at average versus median, listen to it until it makes sense to you, because it's something that you need to like truly understand how it makes sense to you. And once you listen to something that you're like, oh, wow, that makes sense to me, then you'll be able to explain it to somebody else. The way it makes sense to me, and this is not the mathematical definition of it by any means, but median is going to be skewed way less by outliers, right? So if you have, and the average the average is 20, the median is 10. Well, the reason why the average is 20 is there's probably like 4 or 5 listings that were, 300 days on market, and it's going to be skewed by that. Most of the listings are selling in 10 days. So that's why the median. So the median is what most of things are happening. So it's like, and this is where I don't know off the very top of my head what the actual definition of what the actual definition is of it. But generally speaking, what I tell people is I say, if you price it right, you should expect to sell in the median. And this is kind of a weird, bad time because like we're going into the slow time and the market's cooling. And so that might not be the best advice. But generally speaking, we say, look, if you price it right, you should sell around the median. And we usually look at making a price reduction if you've been on the market for the median days on market and you haven't sold. Your expectation should be the average, right? If you're not sold during the median, we shouldn't be upset. We're allowed to make mistakes. The average in the neighborhood is 20. The median is 10. And what you guys will probably see happen over the next 6 months is you're probably going to see both those numbers go up, and the average is probably going to go way up because you're going to have these like, really bullheaded people that just will not reduce their price, and it's going to drive the average way up. So I use average to set the expectation. How long should it take us to sell? I use the median to explain to them, if we get price right, if you're not trying to stretch price, that's how long it should take us to sell. If you listen to me, median. If you don't listen to me, average. That is kind of an easier way to say it, which we don't say it that way, but.
Do you take a look and remove outliers? Say you're in a neighborhood where some stuff's selling at 500 and you have a couple sell at $1 million and a couple sell at 200. Do you go in and look at all those, remove the top 1 or 2 and the bottom 1 or 2 before you do average?
No, not on market statistics. I don't, because the median will do a good job of doing that for you. The only time I'll look at price range, because I absolutely do look at price range, is if you're in a market. Area 2 is a really good example. So let's go, like, let's say you're looking at area 2 single family homes, and let's say you're gonna help somebody in wherever, it really doesn't matter, but they're below $1 million, right? Which 6 months ago, that was very different than what it is now. I've seen a lot of price reductions, and it looks like area 2 is going back to most of them are under $1 million now. But here's one.
Are you wanting to share your screen?
Oh yeah, I am. Thank you very much. Sorry. Great. Everybody can see it now? All right. So this is what I did before I shared screen here. I'll just start over. So, okay, you're in MLS area 2, and the person that you're talking to is they're in a starter home, and it's below $1 million. So to get kind of more accurate expectations on it, single family home below $1 million. What does that market look like? And this, guys, I mean, not to keep beating a dead horse on it, which you guys know I love to do. Whenever you really kind of understand this stuff and you start being curious about this, like you're like, man, I wonder if, and then you go and you actually run the statistics for yourself. Like I encourage everybody to do that. Man, I wonder if, and then go spend 5 minutes looking at it to see what it shows you. That's how you'll get super duper competent in all these markets. So here we go. This is under $1 million in MLS area 2. Let's see what that market looks like. So 62 divided by 3 months, 20.7 properties per month, and then 86 divided by 20.7 is 4.2 months of inventory, right? That kind of surprises me. And the reason it surprises me is that I know that mathematically it's going to be lower on million plus now. So, and this is also a similar concept. Whenever you get into this low number, 43 for statistics, you can have these kind of outliers that can really skew things. So I might not trust this as much as I would trust it if there was more data. But 19 properties divided by 3 months, 6.3 per month, 19 divided by 6.3, 3 months of inventory for luxury properties. And I don't know why, right? I mean, there could be any number of reasons why. Maybe there's more demand right now. Historically, there's been a lot of scarcity for new construction north of the river. That could be why. that, there's more demand than builders put on the ground. Maybe that's why. But at the end of the day, it's a head scratcher, and you want to go, well, for whatever reason, there's less inventory whenever you're north of 1 million. And then maybe you dig in a little bit further and try to figure out why. Did that answer your question, Bill?
Yeah, no, I was just saying, just for tip, I mean, it just depends on what you're looking at. So I got a tear down in area, 78704.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put in comps of new sales because that's not going to be applicable to what I'm trying to show my client.
But that's different. I mean, you're not looking at comps. Remember, you're looking at how's the market. So
Yes.
again, like you definitely want to think about, what am I doing here? Am I trying to find comps for this, or am I trying to figure out how the market is? If I'm trying to find comps, yes, I want to look at similar properties, which are going to be properties that need to be burned to the ground before they're rebuilt on, right? But with market, who would buy this, right? So that's a little bit, I guess, different, because you're only looking at, I mean, for teardowns, only builders are looking at it. But
Sure.
an easier way to do it is, roughly what the price, what's the price range for it?
850 to 900.
There we go. So what I would do, 78704,
Mhm.
and I would go single family for sure, because you're not going to tear a condo down. And then, area 6 and area 7. And do under 1 million. It's certainly going to be under 1 million. That's the market for it. That's who's buying these, right? And so you can go.
We can't see your screen, Eric.
Gosh, I'm so bad at this, guys. One of these days I'm going to get good at presenting. Sorry. All right. So what I did, under 0 to 90 days, area 6, area 7, under 1 million. Look at the results. And this is, again, it's kind of a quick and dirty, but you have to get enough data. Otherwise, you're not really going to have statistical relevance. 22 divided by 3, 7.3, 39 divided by 7.3. You got 5.3 months of inventory for under 1 million and 78704. Not an awesome market, especially compared to where we've been. Interesting one for 04 that I've been curious about, and I haven't looked at this. 2 million plus, which is kind of the luxury range, arguably, for 04. It's been, I've heard through the grapevine that there's a lot of new builds on the ground sitting in 04. And I did price range instead of year built, just because. So we'll see if that is true. What agents are saying, does it hold up statistically? 6.7 properties per month, 32 divided by 6.7, 4.8 months of inventory on it. So decent amount of, 2 million plus stuff over there. But surprising that there's even more, surprising that there's even more million plus. And Philip, this is one that with, strong confidence strong confidence being able to explain this to your clients, you do it the way that makes sense to you, man. Like if you look at it and go, like, I'm going to go pick, but it's going to take you forever. If you're trying to do market statistics and you're trying to pick out all the teardowns without just running a search to find it, like maybe you do under a certain price range, and then maybe you add in year built under 1960 or something like that. Whatever search criteria you add to satisfy, yourself, that you have the right data set, that's the important thing. But what I want to, drive home to everybody is that comps, when you're running comps, 3 to 5 is about perfect, right? Because you don't want to overwhelm them. Market statistics, man, you get below, in my opinion, total data set of below 50, really don't trust it. And the more you can get, the better it really is.
Eric, did you say at least 50?
I mean, I'm going off my gut, so there might be documentation out there that says otherwise, but yeah, around 50 or more, I think is really good. Yeah.
Eric, what would be too high of a number?
None. I mean, whenever we run stuff at the Austin level, like all Austin 5-county metro, in the past, we've always done, this is where it can turn into like, okay, now you have so much data, you can actually start getting really specific on time, right? So 5-county metro area, you have so many solds and so many pendings that whenever the market was shifting, we were doing 1 month of data to look at absorption rate and inventory, because what it didn't make sense. Like we saw these people saying, oh, well, there's still only 1.2 months inventory out there. And it's because they were looking back 3 months. So like you're in June and you're looking at 3 months, but you're looking at absorption rate from, April, May, June, or I guess that would actually be March, April, May. So that the market was shifting so quickly that we were like, oh, well, we can actually just do 1 month of data. We still have plenty of data to make it relevant. But no, I guess better answer your question too, Eric, is like, at what point does it become irrelevant, right? So if I'm selling, I'm trying to think of if I'm selling like $1.5 million house in Crystal Falls, right? Do I really want this data lumped in from, I don't know, a totally different market from like area 10N? Is that the most relevant information to me? Probably not, right? The most relevant information to me is probably MLS area CLN, even better, probably MLS area CLN million plus, And we're going to see, because we're going to see kind of a market shift, it's going to be striated based on pricing for sure, and then also units on the market. And we're going to see more units delivered in the newer areas, in the suburbs, because the builders are going to continue delivering stuff for another 6 or 7 months. So it's going to become pretty different based on price and based on area. But when, again, to go back to it, is it helpful? Like if somebody just asks you a broad question, like how's the market in Austin? Oh yeah, it's, it's not great. It's not as good as it's been. Months of inventory keeps creeping up a little bit. We were 3.7 months last month. We're at 3.8 months now. And then, wow, man, what does that mean? Well, it just means that we're in a balanced market. It leans a little bit towards the sellers, but it's trending, more towards buyers right now. And you just answered the question incredibly well using statistics. And we're going to do this. I'm going to get super annoying to you guys about create value, right? And that's how you create value, is you answer things intelligently with numbers to back it up. 9 times out of 10, your gut is right, and just get the numbers to back it up. And then 1 out of 10 times your gut's not right, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just made myself better, Annette, any other questions about this stuff at all?
No, I just need to practice it.
And please send it to support, send it to me, send to support, include me on it. We'll use this as a training opportunity for support, and we'll help you get to where you're incredibly, incredibly confident.
Will you explain the market health, the graph there, as far as that's just an example graph, right?
Yeah, it's a concept. So let me share screen again.
But isn't it not a seller's market right now?
Well, yeah, but if you look at it, so we have an X right there on 4.
Oh, okay. I didn't see an X today in the email that you sent out with all the new stats.
Oh, it wasn't. They're actually, well, it's actually come back already. So we're plotting it now. So that's going to be on that. And that graphic, guys, I'll have it over to you guys today. And feel free to share it ahead of time. The newsletter is going to go out on Monday. Okay. So you're more than welcome to share it ahead of time. But yeah, what this shows is, as you approach 0 months of inventory, you approach infinite seller leverage. I can sell for whatever price I possibly sell for, right? And then as you approach, infinity or 1,000, the buyers can pay whatever they would like to for a house if the seller, has to sell. So it just has to do with the seller leverage. The lower the seller's leverage, the higher the buyer leverage, and vice versa. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just didn't see the X today when you sent out the stats email, and I may have just missed it.
Cool. I won't talk about this long, but if anybody is curious about like explaining leverage, Google perfect inelasticity of demand. And I was not an economics major at all, but I always remember this, that the professor explained it as, if you need a heart transplant, you are willing to pay any price for that, right? And so that would be like, if you're all the way to 0 on inventory and somebody had to live there, they have to have housing. They're not going to live in a box on the street. And it's a good concept to kind of understand when you're explaining leverage. You don't need to talk about heart transplants or anything like that. You can just talk about leverage with your clients. What other, what else do we have going on? So let me ask a pointed question. Once these, Casey, and I'll put you on the hot seat because I know you're really interested in this stuff. So
Yep.
Can you describe your process once we get to Monday and you've already put together every single packet that you're going to put together?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do, first of all, my goal is going to be to do 2 packets a week.
Okay.
And I'm focusing in on past sales. So, and people that I know that are nice. That's where I'm going to start. And then, so my process then is I'm going to gather all the information, get my packets. I'm going to get my packets ready before I call them. For me personally, this is how it's going to keep me accountable. I'm going to call them. I'm going to say, hey, I just want to let you know, we're starting this new thing where we're giving you kind of an update of what your property every year. I'd like to drop it by your house. I already have it created, so I can just drop it by. 1 or 2 things they're going to say that will probably happen. They'll say, oh my gosh, that's great. I wanted to show you what we did with our kitchen. You're going to just be amazed. Great. Plan is only 15 minutes at the house. This is not a listing presentation. This is not a whole afternoon. This is in and out. If they say, oh, okay, great. You can drop it by anytime. Great. And then I'm just going to put it in the mailbox, and then I'll follow up with a, hey, just want to make sure you got it. Did you have any questions? Inside the house, it's going to happen organically. It's going to be super. The intent of it is not to get a listing. The intent of it is to have face-to-face time to connect with my clients. If we sit down and go over everything in the packet, great. If we sit and talk about kids and, they say they're loving their school and they probably, if the conversation doesn't go to the packet, I'm leaving the packet. I'm not making it because I don't want them to feel like I'm there to get a listing, because that is not why I'm there. I wrap it up 15 minutes. And in my mind, I do 2 of these a week, and I'm probably spending 2 hours total. But as I dial it in, probably less than that. That's kind of my goal.
I think it's great. And I love being hyper aware of not pushing it on them, because people could certainly interpret this as they're showing up because they want to sell my house. And that's the last thing you want anybody to think.
Ninja selling is 2 a week. So that's 100. That's a lot. But I don't know. I've sold over 100 houses, so I got 100 people right there to start.
Yeah. I think I'm curious to hear how everything goes as well. I think I don't know. I think you're going to end up having a lot of awesome conversations with folks. Who else has some goals about when you're going to have some of these done, when you're going to get started with them? Philip, I'm curious to hear, you already do a pop by and drop off presents every year, and that's where most of your business.
Yeah, and I've done a couple of these, and I'm actually closing one in a couple of weeks, which is great. Just had stayed in front of her, and she had given me some suggestions that she may be selling in a year or so like that. So I just stayed in front of her, and earlier this year I kind of just sent over a mark. I didn't do it. It didn't look this polished, but I sent her over a market update, just telling her everything that was going on. And so again, it's just staying in front of your clients. I'm not sure if I'm going to do them at my pop buys, because that's a little bit more time of just, hey, how you doing? How's your year been, and all that type of stuff. But I'll probably piggyback it somehow with that as well.
Okay. Do you have a list of who you're going to do these for?
Yeah, I do. And my goal is like 1 a week. So, and right now I'm going to probably go back 2 or 3 years and start hitting investors that had buy and hold properties that wanted to hold them for about 5 years and then sell them, and kind of get in front of those people. And then I have several out-of-state clients, a couple of them that are actually moving back here. They purchased a couple properties a few years ago, decided it wasn't the right place. They moved back to the DC area. Now they're coming back. Just got them under contract with a new build. But he's like, hey, both of our sets of parents probably want to move here too. So I'm in touch with them, and one of them is a partner in the 2 investment properties they have. So definitely get with those people to give them a market overview of their investment properties, and then of course segue that into when you're moving down, because your kid and your 2 grandkids are going to be here in 6 months. So
Awesome. Jeremy, you virtually raised your hand, which I didn't know people could do, and that's awesome. So
Yes, I've been meaning to use that feature more often because I think it's great. Yeah, I have a list of about 10 people. 5 of them are like really good friends that I feel comfortable just like trying this on.
Cool.
And then like 5 of them are a little bit more higher priority folks. So my goal is to get those done before I was gonna say before Thanksgiving, but that's like a long time. I feel like I can probably do it a lot sooner than that. Casey, I really like your idea of that, like face-to-face pop by, just kind of giving them a heads up, saying, hey, I'm going to drop this by. It's already made. Super easy. So it doesn't, make them feel like, oh my gosh, you're doing all this work for me. But then obviously giving them the packet and chatting with them about it, obviously, provides a ton of value. I know some folks are asking like, who should we prioritize? And obviously like, investors, I think, is a great idea. Friends maybe lower on the priority list, but I kind of feel like, I don't know, I'm not afraid of screwing up, but but if I am going to screw up, I want to do it with people who will forgive me for it. But yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts on that would be great.
Yeah,
I
so
totally agree. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I want to do it with, as I'm like working out the kinks, I want to do it to people who are going to be nice, forgiving, not also, we have clients that will just boom, 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 question after question after question. I don't know if I'm going to start with them. I think I'm going to start with other people. I'm also, one thing I forgot to mention is like, so North Shore Creek is where my first one is. And as I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've sold 2 or 3 houses in North Shore Creek. I'm going to actually do all those at the same time, or I'm going to prepare those all at the same time. Less work, more efficient as I go out. Maybe I'll schedule both pop pies the same day, right? So since I'm already in the area.
Yeah.
I would encourage everybody. I think comfort level is super important, right? Like I would say number one, and I haven't sent this email out in a while, but there's an article that I love that's called "Perfection is the Enemy of Getting Things Done," and I think that you guys should like be aware of that and get out there and go with somebody that you're super comfortable with, and it might be a little bit clunky. Feel confident, otherwise it's not going to be great, but do it sooner than later, and you'll get really comfortable with it really quickly. I think that people you sold properties to, obviously the easiest criteria. I personally would feel a little bit weird about offering this up to somebody that I didn't sell a property to necessarily, unless I had a strong relationship with them. And the reason for that is it feels very like prospecty, right? Like if you're hitting people up that you didn't sell in the house. And then I would just go like in order of most recent to oldest for comfort level. Like I just had a relationship with these folks, and so it's easier. And then I love Casey's criteria of, are they nice? I think that's probably, so you sold them a house, you sold it to them relatively recently, and you think they're really nice. That's probably the easiest people to do this with. And then you'll sort of like get the experience. You'll start feeling comfortable helping other folks. So
Quick question. And this, I know there are no stupid questions, and this is called an annual real estate review.
Yeah.
But like you wouldn't necessarily do this to somebody who you sold a house to 6 months ago. Or would you kind of give them just like I don't know, how would you?
I would look at it and go, is it relevant? So you sold them the house a month ago. You probably just went through all this information with them. Doesn't make a lot of sense. You sold them the house in March. Have things changed?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Has it gone up or down? Now, if it was last year, it was 6 months, you may say, hey, look, you got like 200K in equity already, right? I'm a great agent.
Right.
Well, and going back to comfort level, right? So if it makes you uncomfortable to have a real estate review with somebody and you're telling them that they lost money on their purchase, then don't do it. But, I think this year, I personally, I am very comfortable giving people bad news, and I would not have a problem doing that, but I can see a lot of people having a problem doing that. And if that's the case, then just wait and do it next year. And even if they lost money next year, maybe you're not comfortable and you don't want to do it then, but I would say you probably are very, very welcome at that point, because they've forgotten if they had any, hard feelings about the purchase. Now they're like, man, I need to know what's going on. And you're that advisor who's explaining to them their situation and what their options are. And you get to tell them, guys, look, I think by this time next year, we probably know exactly what's going on with the economy. We probably know exactly that the economy is recovering. And you can tell them like, yeah, you're probably totally fine in a year or two. So just, bear that in mind. If you get a job offer in Portland, you might not be able to, you might lose money on this house. So.
I have a quick question. I know that we talked about either going in person to drop these off and having a very quick conversation, or, bringing a physical copy to their house and leaving it if they're not there. Are people going to be doing these for maybe investor clients that they have that maybe live out of state and emailing it and having a phone call, or doing like a quick Zoom? What are we thinking about that?
Casey, you've thought about this a whole lot. So what would you do in that situation? Somebody lives out of state, you can't physically drop it off to them, but they need the information.
My gut says I would probably mail it to them, just because I think it'll look nicer and present well, and I think it'll get more in front of them. But I'm not starting with those guys, because the goal for me, when I think about it, the goal of it, always go back to that Larry guy says that everybody knows 4 people that are moving in the next year, and they can refer them to you. Those people are the people that are already in Austin. My investor is probably not going to refer me a client, just my investors that I have. But so that's where I'm starting, Becky. But if I got through everybody and I got to my investors, I'd probably mail it. But that's just me.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think, yeah, piggybacking on Larry Kendall and the Ninja selling system, that everybody has a referral. I have 3 or 4 clients that give me the majority of my referrals, maybe 2 or 3 or more a year. And so I'm certainly going to start with them and their primary properties and maybe some of their investment properties to make sure that I'm always top of mind as their real estate advisor of choice. So when people talk to them about, oh, well, who did you use? Like, oh, well, I got Philip and he's great. Not only did he do a great job, help me find a place, but he's also keep me up to date on a yearly basis on what my properties are worth.
I would encourage everybody to whoever you're most comfortable with to start with. And Becky, if that's investors, then start with investors and ease your way in on it. In terms of how you deliver it, I personally don't like paper very much, so I always I lean towards, I'll send them a PDF. I learned that my own biases are wrong a lot, so maybe that's wrong. But if it's going to help you get through the first couple of them and you want to do it via PDF, do it via PDF, and then start working on the next. I'm gonna have a hard stop here in a couple minutes, guys. I would say we should probably do this again relatively soon. Would you guys agree with that? Okay. Any other questions for the next few minutes?
Can I make a suggestion? I think that a lot of my questions, if I have questions, they might be able to get answered. They're going to be one-off questions at the AMA. So can we wait to schedule the next one until after that, just to see if that's true? That's just my gut.
No, absolutely. And encourage everybody to leverage Facebook on this one. I mean, this is lots and lots of questions. We can even get somebody posts one question, we can even get a thread going on annual real estate review questions or whatnot. But Facebook's been really, really good to collaborate with everyone. And if you have a question that you're not comfortable asking publicly, send it to me, send it to support. Just know that we're here to support, guys. And we don't have great documentation on this yet. We know that the math is a little bit wonky, so we want to help everybody get really, really comfortable doing it. So our vested interest in getting everybody on board with this. There's a concept of tribal knowledge, and it's sort of like, okay, everybody in an organization is on board with something, they all do it a certain way, and then just that becomes tribal information. And then when new people come on board, they're like, oh wow, everybody else is bought into this, so I'm bought into it too. And then, oh, I have a question, well, I can ask Casey, or I can ask Jeremy, or I can ask Annette. And things just get answered a lot easier. So that's what our goal is to, well, one, to make sure this works, but I'm fairly confident it's going to work. And then the biggest goal is to, next year at this time, everybody's on board with it and doing it. So Cool. That's it. We can end 5 minutes early and just move on about our days. I look forward to the AMA on Monday. I think, and so I was talking with Max this morning, and I think we might start doing AMAs with some vendors as well. I feel like the venue could be really good, where you guys can just ask questions ahead of time. I think that like presentation, I've always done so much work on presentations, but I feel like you're just like talking at people then, and the conversations are what really are a lot more beneficial to everybody. So awesome. We all have a great day. Make it awesome. Okay.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
See you
Later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.